Hello and welcome to your art class. It's Wednesday, you've made it through half of the week, congratulations. And now we're here to do some nice drawing and painting as usual. We're going to do about 10 minutes of drawing and about 20 minutes of painting. We've got a really nice drawing today, which I think everyone's going to come up with something quite nice because it's quite a straightforward drawing to start with, but you can then add your own personalisation as always, but especially today. So yeah, let's get going with our stuff. Get yourself a drink, coffee, tea, wine, whatever, and let's get going with it. All right, here we are. We have our paper. Today it's a landscape style, so not portrait, but landscape. Oh, just knocking everything around. And I already have my fine liner ready. A little bit of excess paint from my last painting. Oops. And let's get going. So I'm going to start today by drawing a circular or semicircle shape down at the bottom here. Now it can be, I'm going to do it about this size. So aim for around that, maybe not bigger than that. Then I'm going to draw another one of these, except I need to leave a little bit of space here. So depending on how far across you've drawn it, you might be drawing it in line with the original one, or you might have a bit of extra room. I'm going to do like this, leave a little gap, and like that. So it's kind of like, I don't know what I can compare this to, but this is like one circle and then another circle with a little gap, or semicircle rather. Sorry, my camera will focus. I've got the giggles now. Okay, Ness, focus. Okay, it's Wednesday, we're being sensible. Then here, we're going to draw two lines. So one line that comes like this, and another line that comes like that. You can see they're kind of curved, they're not completely straight, and they're going in a little bit, if anything, but it doesn't matter too much. We can play around with this. Then to connect these two lines, we're just going to do a wiggly line, but instead of going forward, it goes kind of out or around like that. Let me show you a bit closer. So instead of this wiggly line going like up, it comes down and around. Wiggle, wiggle, and the same on that side. And then you can complete this shape by doing the same kind of wiggle, but going like mirrored, but it doesn't have to be symmetrical. It just means that it's kind of like going out and not really coming in, like that. Any kind of shape like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, then we're going to draw a line from this line that goes up to about here, so the top right hand corner of your page, except we're going to leave a gap about this big, so I can start it here, or it might be easier to start it from here, kind of coming around and leaving this gap, finishing it off here. Then we're going to draw a line from this point up to the same corner, but we're leaving maybe like 2 or 3 fingers width of space. So I'm going to put a little dot where I want to end up, and then I can bring it down, and it kind of comes in and comes back out like that. So you've got this big kind of water droplet shape kind of. And then this line is going to be basically the same as this line, except I want it to end here. So I'm going to draw this line that comes down and kind of curves up like that. Then on the top here, I'm going to connect these two marks by drawing a rounded edge and a rounded edge like that. Then on the top here, we're going to draw a shape similar to this shape. So 2 lines that come up that are a little bit in, except this is just going to have one line that is wobbly that goes out, like facing that way. Then we're going to move down here and we're going to draw a little line like this. So kind of like a little wisp, a little hair or something. And then we're going to draw a smaller semicircle there, like a little belly button or something. Okay, now we're going to move back up to this shape and finish it off. So we're going to do the same kind of wobbly line, doesn't need to be perfect, to give it that 3D shape. And then you can also add some horizontal to me, vertical lines onto this shape to just give it a little bit of something, and some random dots on the top there. So I'm going to show you close up if you can see the light. Dots and lines. Now we're going to move over to this shape and do the same kind of thing where we draw lines. Okay. Then here we're going to draw 4 long oval shapes. So the first one is going to start coming here and it comes about this size. The second one's going to be slightly longer. The third one's going to be the same size as the first one, pretty much, and then the last one's going to be a little bit smaller. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and then I can join this line up to that. I'm also going to draw another little shape that comes there. Then over here, I'm going to draw a little semicircle here. And I'm going to draw, again, this long oval shape, but just a smaller section of it coming down here. So I do 1, 2, 3, and then maybe a suggestion of a 4th, but depending on how long and how big your shape is, you might not get 4, but you want 4 maximum and 1 little one there. Okay. Then on these little shapes, I'm going to add little half moons at the end. In case you can't tell what it's going to become, my favourite thing to draw. And then to make it look like a really realistic hand, I'm going to, of course, put my little knuckle marks there. Sorry, the lighting's a bit weird today, so I'm trying to show you. So this is a hand that's like clasping something, and this is a hand that's open. So you can't see the nails on this hand, but you could, if you've drawn your fingers long enough, you could see the first crease in some of them. So I'll just draw that in. And this would be a thumb. So if the thumb's there, you can add little details like this would be the bottom bit of the hand. You could even add in each kind of finger, but you don't have to do that. You see just a little line there suggesting it's a bit more 3D. So these are our courgettes or zucchini, however you call them. Or they could be any other veg that looks this shape, I suppose. But to make them look a bit more courgette-y, I'm going to add more lines in them. So I'm just going to follow the natural curve of the fruit or vegetable, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think there's an argument about courgettes. They are vegetables, aren't they? You see? Already, boom, looks realistic. Do the same over here. That hasn't gone as well. That's okay. Harder to think about where the lines are going to go because it's obviously disappearing behind the front one. And because I've drawn the hands, you could just leave it like this. I suppose it's actually quite a nice little drawing. But I want to give it a bit more context. So you could always draw a head here. But because this is forward, we're going to do quite a small face again. So I'm sorry. I know small face is not good to show you. But I'll just do the little bridge of the nose there. Tiny little dot. And then I might just leave it with two happy eyes. As in like just this upside down shape here, and then I've added some eyelashes. You see? So it's like when someone's smiling so much that they've got their eyes closed, they're just so proud, they've got so much glee. And then obviously adding eyebrows, and then a hairstyle. So obviously mine's going to have a fringe because I love the fringe. It deals with all sorts of issues in real life and in drawing. And then drawing the hair to kind of frame the face. You could also have someone with a hat on, like a big sun hat or something, could be quite cute. Or you could have different hairstyles. Actually, maybe I'll do little bunchies like here. Just little ones, a few flicks of hair. Just for the added cute factor. We love that. Over here at NessDoes. And already it has a bit more personality now. So now I could also draw this person's body in the background. So I'm just thinking like, okay, arms are outstretched here, body. To make it really simple, you could literally draw 2 lines and that's it. Or you could make it more complicated and then have to think about the proportions and be like, okay, well, where would the belly button be? And then where would the legs be? Let's do it. Let's do that. Risky. Does that look okay? Does that look weird? I think that looks okay. I'm kind of into that. She got jeans on. I think I might do my little detail for my jeans. And then of course you could do a background as well to make it really like an actual picture, but I think I'm going to leave it there and do like a watercolour-y abstract background because I think that that is enough drawing for today. I'm really happy with that so far though. I think it's really cute. As always, I know cute is a descriptive word that I use a lot, but I can't help it. I just make cute work. So that's 13 minutes of drawing or around that. And now where's my brush? I know I have a few brushes up here, but that's just to look pretty because I have my main brush, which I pretty much exclusively use. And sometimes I accidentally pick up this brush. It's a little bit bigger and immediately I'm like, oh, because it's weird. Not that it's not a good brush, it's a great brush, but I'm just so used to this brush, I know it. Like I could do a blind test with it, I am sure. If I was painting blind and you gave me this, I would know that it was this brush because we're just mates, innit? We've been together for so long. Okay, now I have my paints over here. And I'm going to start, I think, as always with, actually no I'm not, I'm going to start with a yellow underlayer. So I'll get my first bit of water. Got my cadmium and my Naples yellow next to each other. I like to use a little combi because sometimes the cadmium yellow can be a bit too pow. Just blow the dust away, even though I've dusted a lot this morning. And I just kind of come on, need a bit more water on my brush. And I can be a bit sloppy here because this is just the first layer. I'm going to paint over this anyway. Just navigating it around the hand. Lovely jubbly. And then I'm going to do the other one as well. Actually, I can paint the whole thing because I want these bits as well to have a yellow underlayer. Okay, so that's our first layer done. Okay, so now I'm going to paint because I know that this isn't that wet, I'm going to paint, and also it's not a very offensive colour, this yellow, it's not like powerful. I'm going to paint the hands and the little face. So I've got my yellow ochre and my scarlet red and Windsor red combination because I wanted to buy more Windsor red and I couldn't find it. Well, I couldn't find a small tube, I could only find a big tube and I was like, oof. don't want to invest in that because I had this old Winsor red tube for years, and because it's such a powerful red, and I was never really a red user, because you only need a tiny little hint for the skin tone that I paint, at least with my illustrations of my character, let's say. I was like, God, if I buy this massive tube of Winsor red, it's going to outlive me, and it's like not cheap. So I went to the schminker aisle and I got myself a scarlet red. I spent ages, obviously, as I always do, deciding which red is the right red. Is it going to give me a different skin tone to what I'm used to? But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the scarlet red from Schminker. So thank you very much, Schminker. Although you should be thanking me because I'm spending my money on you. But I do like the brand Schminker. Schminker and Winsor & Newton I like equally, but I think when I used to work in art shops, I would always lean towards Schminker when I was recommending to like professional level artists, because, interesting fact, they, with their pan watercolours, Schminker layers the colour. They don't bake the colour and then cut it up into little blocks like other brands do. They pour in the colour into the pan in layers, so that, well, the argument is that it lifts a lot more easily, and it's like a lot smoother, and you don't have to like niggle at it to activate it so much, because it's already like, it was fluid as it went into the pan, whereas other pans get like made, moulded, chopped up and put into the plastic like pots or like containers, I suppose, that you can often find in watercolour sets, or you do find in watercolour sets. So, and I have noticed that because in some of I have a few watercolour sets that I've accumulated over the years, and the ones that aren't Schminker, sometimes if you have them like upside down and you open them, sometimes some of the pans can like fall out of their little enclosures, and they're just bare bits of paint, I suppose. And when I've done in my nerdy testing of material days, I did notice that, yeah, the Schminker watercolour pans are really nice and smooth. But yeah, I don't know. So that's the story of my preference of watercolours. Very interesting, I know. I'm going to draw some, or paint some classic jeans. You know, jeans are dyed with indigo dye, or traditionally were dyed with indigo dye. I always thought that was quite cool. So I've got a mixture of indigo and French ultramarine. And you know, well, I'm learning, I mean, I've learned a lot about colours over the years, because I'm very interested, but I also recently got a book to remind me of the knowledge that I accumulated. And although maybe I shouldn't be saying all these things, because you're going to be like fact checking me. You'll be like, Ness, you're full of it. You don't know anything. But I'm pretty sure that French ultramarine is called French ultramarine because lapis lazuli was the original blue. And it's really hard to get blue pigments, and it was like really expensive, and people would pay artists or buy the pigment for the artists to use and tell them specifically where to use the lapis lazuli pigment on the painting that they had commissioned. And like often it was used to signify wealth in a painting or whatever. And then there's someone asked, or like there was like a big search for finding a synthetic version of the lapis lazuli, and the first person who invented it was a French person, and that's why it's called ultramarine, and that's why it's called French ultramarine. Although in the book that I'm reading, it also says that a German person discovered it first, and then there was a fight about it, but the French prevailed. I don't know. Anyway, this layer is now probably dry enough for me to go in with my first layer of green. I've got sap green, and then I've also got this chromium oxide green, which is like quite a matte, like flat colour. I don't really like it. I bought it in that sale, which I was talking about in a few videos ago. I don't love it, but I mix it in with my sap to just give my green a little extra, like a little difference, I suppose. What's with my speaking today? It's just making it through the week, you know, halfway through. So and this camera just does freaky stuff to this green. Like, it doesn't look like this. You see, if I move my finger, I don't know what is this camera's problem with green. Maybe because it's like, green is like a colour, isn't it? In filming, you have the green screen. What if I move it up? I'll move it to the side. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's like, it actually looks quite good on this courgette, but it does not look like that in real life. Or am I just living in a simulation? Is this real? Are we really here? Is this a glitch in the Matrix? What is going on? It's like the wet green. I wonder if as it dries it will stop doing this crazy effect. Or can you even see this? Or is it just my mind? Oh man, what is today? I'm baffled. Because I have used green before and it hasn't done it like this bad, has it? And it's so weird that it only does it with the green. Maybe I need to paint my courgettes a different colour. Because it looks like I'm painting it black, but I'm not. It's like it's this colour. Oh yeah, it also makes that look black. Oh, does anyone know? Does anyone know the answer why my camera picks up my green in such a freaky deaky way? What is this crazy? And then there's like this line. What's that line? That's, in my view, oh, it's just a reflection of the light. That's what it is. Let's see. Ooh. I mean, it's kind of cool, but this is what it looks like. This for me. Maybe as it dries, it will reveal the truth. Okay, so that's my first layer of that. And then I'm going to go in with a bit of brown to paint these bits, because these bits are kind of like more yellowy brown than green. So I've got like a random load of browns. I always gather my browns all together and just mix them up and use them accordingly. And this little button here as well is kind of like a more yellowy brown, if you can even see that amongst this crazy effect going on. I'm going to now also do the hair, because this bit's not that wet, as you can tell, because it's not glitching. So I'm going to do brown hair, and just, my brushes are probably a bit too wet for what I want, but I'm not going to adjust it because I'm being lazy. Okay, I am. Well, not for that first application. Because if your brush is too wet, your paint is not as thick. So then you have to do more layers and it takes longer to dry. So if you're impatient like me, getting a brush that's the perfect amount of wet is very important if you are not wanting to wait around for ages and then and annoy yourself. Because if I painted this really with a dry brush, I could go back and add lots of layers quite quickly, but because I've done it quite wet, I have to now wait for a long time for it to dry so that it won't just blend into the next layer. Okay, now I'm going to go in and do the nails here because I like to have painted nails. So I'm going to go in with my purple. I mostly do this because I usually go paint over the nails with the skin colour. And so this gives me a cover up basically, but it's also nice to have painted nails. I did actually paint my nails last week for the first time in a long time. I took them off today though because they were all getting cracked as usual. They lasted a good 5 days though. And then I'm just going to start on the background because this is still a little bit wet, and if I go in I risk that lift of the colour. So I'm going to go for that wet on wet technique, which I love to talk about in my art classes because I love that technique. And my favourite colour to do this with is with my purple because it's such a strong colour. Let's see, I'm saying this now, I'm going to show you. Let's see if it behaves. So this section's really wet. And I'm just gonna, look at that. Like, oof. Is that a powerful colour or is that a powerful colour? So nice. It looks like furry. So I love doing that with this purple. I'll show you the difference between this purple and then another colour which isn't so powerful in a sec. I'm just gonna drag it around a bit. That's like as exciting as watercolour gets, I think, in terms of colour application. And I'm just going to bring it up. I'm kind of just using the paint that I've already applied and just gently dragging it across. Got to be a bit careful around the hair because it's soaking wet still, so if I touch it it's going to dilute the background and make it all muddy and brown, which is not what we want. So I'm kind of giving it a lot of space there, and the water's getting clearer as we add more water and move away from the purple. So I'm going to bring it down here. I'm using quite a lot of water and being quite loose with my application, but I'm going to try not to get it on the bits that I don't want it on. And you can do this in sections, you don't have to paint the whole page wet and then go in with the colour, but I'm just in the flow, so I'm just going for it. Depending on how quickly you work, you can do it all in one, or you can do a section and then drag it around. More explosive purple doing its job. Bringing it to the corner, and then as it dries it's also going to do like different things. It never really stays the same, it doesn't sit. That's the whole point of the wet on wet technique, is that it kind of has a mind of its own, especially if you choose a really dominant colour like this one. Did I say I was going to show you an example of a non-dominant colour? I can do that up at the top, I guess. So bring that around. Don't forget this little section here to make it look more complete. Boom, boom, boom. See this section, because it's small, as I add more it kind of shrinks the colour together because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. Wild. Right. paper towel's getting very saturated, so I'm going to just lift a bit of colour out there because I don't want that to be extra dark compared to the rest, because I don't want the eye to be drawn just there. That is not the focus of today. And then, okay, I'm going to get this bit nice and wet again. Careful around the hair. And I'm going to drop in a little bit of blue. I don't really want to, but I want to show you. See how I just drop that in? There's quite a lot of pigment in that, and it just sits in that position compared to the purple. Oh, well, that bit was dry. But you see already it like explodes a little bit more, so bad example. I hate it when that happens. But you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Is like your pigments will act differently depending on their characteristics. So once you know that about your specific set of colours, you can play around with how to use them. I'm coming up here with my hand so I don't get everything else wet. Okay. Oopsie. All right, so my theory didn't really work because the courgettes are still having a party. I'm going to add I'm mixing up a bit of sap green here with a bit of indigo because they're next to each other on my palette, which gives me this lovely deep green. And I'm just going to go in with another layer. I'm just adding some darker lines, which you can't see anyway, so I'm going to call it a day. Looks like we've painted aubergine and not zucchini with the darkness of this, but let's see if I can put it in this light. No? Any light? Ooh, it's like holographic. Anyway, that's our painting for today. So there we have our lovely drawing and painting, which looks like it's having a party for some reason. So it still looks crazy. I wonder if I leave it, put it close. Yeah, you can kind of see how it looks. Because the thing is, oops, I actually like it as a painting. I think it's like really nice. I might actually make it into a NessDoes design maybe for one of my cards because I think it's very cute. But the green situation, baffling. So if any of you have any tips or tricks about technical setup and how to make your greens not go crazy and holographic, let me know. So despite all of the things that went wrong and all of my little problems, I hope that you had a nice time and came up with a nice design. And I'd love to see, as always, what you come up with. So you're so welcome to send pictures my way via Instagram. And yeah, I'll see you next week for more of the same, the good stuff. Take care. Bye. Oh, that looks good.